please, just don't tell me that you've actually used I can't even say it, a sponge to clean your car. What's up guys, welcome back to Hotchkiss Performance. I'm Josh. Now today is our first product shootout between a sponge and a wash mitt. Now I'll go through the pros and cons of each, because as much as this seems to be like a detailing sin, it does have a few pros compared to a wash mitt, if you can believe it. So I'll just go through those first. So I'll start with the sponge. It's cheap. Okay, it is. You can pick these up for pence, not pounds. They're durable. You know, these take some hammer and you can have them for months and they're not going to, disintegrate. They're also very readily available. You can walk into basically any shop on the planet and you will find a sponge. A supermarket, just a general store. Everywhere has these, so if you're stuck and you need something to wash your car, you can find these in petrol stations, any kind of shop like that. With them being so cheap, they are disposable. Okay, you're not going to give a crap if you drop it on the floor, and then you can't use it on your paintwork again because it's covered in grit. So, drop it, just throw it in bin. Now, we do of course have a con with this product, and it is the reason why I just do not use them, and I wouldn't use them on paintwork or glass or any other surface of the vehicle for that matter. They are not the safest option. I'll quickly explain that. Here we have a piece of grit. This is a sponge surface. I hope you can see this on the camera. Don't drop the grit. If I place that piece of grit on the sponge, as you can see, it sits on the top. There's nowhere for it to go. It's just moving around on that surface. I mean, I don't know if you can hear that. It doesn't go into the sponge, it can't, because of the material that it's made out of. It just can't go anywhere. There's no kind of absorbency into the sponge. There's no give in the material. So any piece of grit that's on that surface is just going to get pushed straight on the paint, and as you're applying pressure, it's just going to scratch the hell out of your paintwork. So, please, just don't use a sponge. Now onto the mitt. Now you can get different types of these. Like this is a genuine lambswool mitt, and this is a microfiber mitt. They're all pretty much the same. They are safer than the sponge. So let's start with safety. The lambswool mitts are by far the safest option. Now the reason with that is, don't worry, I'm not going to drop this in the mitt, because if I do and I can't find it, this mitt has to go in the bin basically. But I'll try to explain. I have got the piece of grit here. As you can see, my fingers go into the mitt, so the grit is going into the mitt, and because of this fibre here, it's plusher, so any dirt that's captured while you're washing the vehicle goes into these fibres rather than on the surface of the sponge. So obviously that's much safer, because the dirt is getting captured inside the mitt rather than sitting on top. The dirt can actually go into the mitt and not move around on the surface and scratch your paintwork. So of course that is the main pro with these mitts. Now, something else, they're not as easily dropped. Put your hand inside, you know, even when these are heavy with product, they fit snug around your hand. They're so easy to use on the paintwork and on the surface. You know, you have got to pull it off to get your hand free. So very hard to drop these unless you're, you know, a bit silly. So another pro, not as easily dropped. Obviously with a sponge, you've only got the pressure of your hand holding the sponge in place. So, you know, if you lose your grip, the sponge is going on the floor basically. These also fit into gaps and round edges and angles of the vehicle much more easily, because, you know, they contour to the panel. You know, you can move your hand inside them and they can fit into gaps, and you can kind of wrap a panel, you know, like the wing mirror for example, wrap the mitt round that to get in, whereas this, obviously it's hard to, because it's kind of a denser thing, it's harder to get really into those, you know, thin gaps and into kind of the areas that this just won't fit into. So another pro. However, these aren't all good. They do have cons, just like with the sponge. Now, I said the sponge was cheap. That's not necessarily the case with these. They're pence, these are pounds. They're not the cheapest things, you know, but if you're into detailing and you want your car in really pristine condition, you'll probably not really be bothered about spending the money. But if you're not that fussed and you just want your car washing to a decent enough standard, they're expensive. Okay, you know, I think this one was about £13, just an example. That one's about £16-17, so whereas that's probably 50 pence. So you could buy a lot of sponges compared to one mitt, and you could just use one of these on a panel, for example. You know, if you drop that, you're not going to think much of it. You're going to bin it and probably get another one. You drop this, it's a lot of money just to drop on the floor and just leave. And you know, you can wash them, and you can be as careful washing them as possible, but you can't be 100% that there isn't any grit left in that mitt, depending on where you've dropped it. Or, you know, if you drop it on a grassy area or anywhere where there is contamination on the ground, then if you drop it, I'd recommend you do bin it and get another one. But that's just me. Of course, some people will probably have a go at me in the comments and say, well, of course you can wash them, that's what they're designed for. We all have an opinion, so let me hear yours in the comments. Not very durable. The sponges, these aren't. The microfiber ones are more durable, but the genuine lambswool ones, if you're using this regularly, you know, daily, weekly, they're probably only going to last you 6 months. You know, they're just not going to last, so they're not the most kind of durable, because at the end of the day, this is a natural kind of product that's artificial. Like I said, that's kind of best of both worlds, because you get the safety plus the durability, but this will never be as safe as this. So that's all preference, you know. Some people don't like those, some people don't like these, but you know, that's up to you what you prefer. Another thing with these is they tend to snag on sharp edges or badges, for example, which pulls out these fibres, which can be a pain, which, you know, it lessens the durability, because if you're constantly snagging it on badges and it's pulling all these fibres out, it's going to be no good if you're doing loads of cars. So there's quite a few cons with these. you know, as well as pros, just like the sponge. You know, some people like, you know, no way, you can't use these, they're the worst things ever. I don't use them, but some people argue they're perfectly fine. Obviously, it depends on the techniques you use for your kind of touchless washers with your snow foams and your pre-washers. There shouldn't be large amounts of, you know, dirt left on the vehicle, but it is just that chance that there could be, and the chance that there could be is better off being taken away from the paint with a mitt, in my opinion, than a sponge. I've got nothing against you if you use a sponge. You know, we all have preferences in life. That's up to you, each to their own. But just wanted to list the pros and cons of each, so you can kind of make a, you know, a decision based on your opinions. You know, if you've used both, which you prefer. So I've always used mitts over sponges, but like I say, it is all in your opinion. So that's pretty much it for this video, and thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.